You're locked in to Fran Harris's Women's Basketball TV with WNBA champion, NCAA champion, sports announcer, and entrepreneur, Fran Harris. So buckle up, Buttercup. Here's the show.
All I have to say about Game 5 is that few people will understand what it takes to win a championship. It's not just about assembling the best team, having the best players, having the best coach. The mentality, the mental fortitude that it takes to win that first championship for some teams, for a lot of teams, is unfathomable, especially if you've been a team that has gotten really close, but you've never won. Especially if you have the distinction of being the only original WNBA franchise who's still in existence, still operating, but you haven't won. Y'all have no idea what it takes for New York to get over this hump. By most people's standards, this is a year New York is supposed to win. By some people's standard, last year was the year New York was supposed to win, but they didn't beat the Aces. And now people are looking at them saying they just can't get over the hump. They just can't get over the hump. And to some degree, that is true. New York has not been able to close it out because you have no idea what it feels like in the middle of a game when you're attempting to stay in that moment and stay locked in. But there's somewhere in your mind that keeps some little special secret closet in your mind that keeps reminding you of the importance of the game you're in for the championship, right? Let me repeat that. When you're in the middle of a game, there's something that creeps in that prohibits you from getting over that hump. And that's when you need that team, those coaches, to remind you to stay in that moment, y'all, because it's in there. It's in there. I wish I could take you back to some games, not only for my team at Texas, but for other teams. When I'm looking at them playing, I'm like, that scary thought has crept into their mind. That scary thought that makes them question whether they can actually do it. Now, it's not a loud voice, but it's just loud enough that you don't box out. It's just loud enough that you miss a free throw. It's just loud enough that you miss a layup. It's just loud enough that you don't make the right cut on your inbound play. I'm telling you, New York, the longer it takes them to win with the team that they have, the more difficult it is going to be. I'm just telling you what I know. The more difficult it is going to be. New York, I hate the shoulda, woulda, couldas, but New York should have closed out Minnesota in Game 4. They had every opportunity to close Minnesota out in Game 4. And now Minnesota is like, whatever we got to do, we're going to New York. We already know we can beat New York in New York. Now all this pressure, this undue, unnecessary pressure that New York has allowed itself to be in this situation, now the horses are on their backs. They still have to close it out at home. Winning championships is all about winning the games that you should win. Okay, so some of y'all are going, well, what does that mean? It's your girl, Fran Harris, former WNBA champion with the Houston Comets. It is finally here. Yes, the first novel set in the world of the WNBA. And it's got all the good stuff. It's got love, romance, true crime, forgiveness, redemption, all the stuff you love to see in great novels. If you love Terry McMillan and Waiting to Exhale, if you love Eric Jerome Dickey and all his madness, then you will love Houston by Morning. It's a story of 4 characters: a baller, an agent, a television personality, and a coach. And the way their lives collide into one another is a beautiful mess. Pick up a copy now on Amazon Kindle or at HoustonByMorning.com. Winning championships is all about winning the games that you should win. Okay, so some of y'all are going, well, what does that mean? That means there are certain games you should win. There are games that you don't lose at home, so those are given. So you got to win your games at home. You got to steal one, if you will, at their place. And you have to close it out when you are supposed to close it out. You don't put yourself and your team into situations where you're in the must win. All the pressure is on you. It's a game 5. It's in your building. 19,000 people will be there, whatever the maximum capacity is in Brooklyn. You haven't done it. These are all the tenets of pressure that New York will have to overcome. And they will either rise to the occasion, and obviously that's a given. They will either rise in a very, very powerful fashion, meaning it won't even be a game. They will have to do that, or they put themselves in a situation where every bucket counts, every possession counts. Like, who needs all that pressure? Who needs it? Oh my goodness. New York, you are where you are. The game is what it is. The stakes are what they are. I don't have a dog in this race. I like both of these teams. I love what I've seen in these finals. They have been unbelievable. Watching these games, unbelievable. I had a chance to go to all kinds of concerts and other events, and people are like, you're not going to the blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I'm not. They were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm watching the WNBA. What? I'm watching the WNBA. And then I had other people. I've had meetings this week with investors for various things who are talking to me about the WNBA. Like, I'm trying to get into the business of what we're talking about. And they're like, did you see that game? What are you doing? Were you watching the game? I mean, this is real life, y'all. This is what we've come to. This is how exciting our game is. And I know that I don't have to tell y'all that because you already know that. But yeah, so my prediction for today, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the game plan for today. New York, the biggest obstacle in New York is what I've already said, and it's the monkey that's on their back. It's a horse, the big gorilla that's on their back, and that is we've never done it, and we have to do it at home. Game 5. But if I talk more tactically about what New York has to do, number one, if Jonquel Jones is cooking, and she should be cooking, there's nobody like her in the WNBA. You cannot allow her to disappear. And now that's not all her fault. They went away from her. If Jonquel is cooking, right, then keep the fire on under her pot. Why are we going away from somebody who's cooking everybody who's guarding her? And clearly they don't have anybody who can guard her. That's the number one thing. I saw a mistake that New York made. They went away from the people who were cooking. Number two, and that includes Benijah Lane. That includes Benijah Lane and Hamilton as well. If she's cooking them, why are we going away from her? Or let's go to the people who are cooking. Phoebish, right? I don't know what she's going to be like in this game 5. She's been pretty good in the whole series. But these are different stakes. And if you notice, I haven't mentioned Stewie yet. Brianna Stewart will have to come out and make a statement from jump. Make a statement that she's going to be in it. Like every 2 or 3 possessions need to be around Stewie. Now you say, why do you say that? Because it is extremely difficult to not get touches, not see the ball go through the basket, 5, 6, 7, 8 possessions, and then try to count on me to hit a bucket when we need it. It doesn't work that way. It rarely works that way. So the main people, New York has to keep the main people. You got to get Jonquel, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu. You've got to keep these people engaged the entire game. Now, how do you do that? Touches. Yes, you got to make sure you get touches, but you also have to run plays where they are successful, right? I saw so many plays, and especially for Minnesota, but I also saw this for New York, where I'm like, what was that? That was a terrible shot. That was a terrible possession. As good as these coaches are, these are two of our best coaches. There should never be a situation where it looks like the players don't know what they're doing. These coaches are top of our game. And if the players out there getting, shot clocks running down because they're shooting some off balance contested 3-pointer, something broke down right in the play. So for New York, got to keep the main people the main people. You just do. Brianna, Jonquel, okay, Sloot to some degree, Sabrina Ionescu. They have the players. They have the people. There's no question about that. We already know that. But New York's breakdown is mental. They don't lack plays. They don't lack execution. They lack mental toughness when it counts. All right, let's go to the Minnesota Lynx. Minnesota Lynx can play free. And I shouldn't say nobody, because some of you do believe that they can win. But for the most part, the bettors are betting on New York in their building, all the stakes, in their favor. A lot of people are betting on New York. So in my mind, Minnesota can play very freely. Yes, they want to win. Yes, they have the team and the coaching staff to win. But when the media, when the detractors and everybody's saying that this is New York's year, it really does take some pressure off. So I'm looking for Minnesota to play very free. Now, the thing that surprised me about Minnesota in Game 4, how many dang layups they missed. McBuckets missed layups. Courtney Williams missed layups. Fee missed layups. Again, we underestimate the power of fatigue. Y'all have heard me talk about this in my videos a lot. Fatigue is a bear, right? It's a mother bear. Fatigue is extremely important, has been important and been a factor in this entire series. But you got one more game. You got one more game to play. For the Lynx, it's about execution at the right time. It's about execution late in the clock, and that's where Cheryl really excels. In-game situations, like making those things count. Because I think this game comes down to two things. I'm not going to say it comes down to who wants it the most, because both of these teams want it. But when people say that, what it means is when you really, really want it, you do those little things. So I think this game comes down to execution of little things. Boxing out, possessions, inbound plays, execution on offense, sticking to the defensive strategy that Cheryl puts into place. I think that's what's important for Minnesota. For New York, it's staying in the moment. It's not letting the moment get too big. We've heard that a million times, but it really is that in a Game 5 championship for a team that's never won a championship, stay in the moment, right in the moment where you are. Don't think about the clock for, we got 2 more quarters. None of that. You have to play and excel and be amazing in the individual moments. I could go into X's and O's and all that good stuff, but honestly, with a game of this caliber, it's really about execution, little things, intangibles, and staying locked in. We'll see you guys after the game. What do you think? Who's going to win, Minnesota or New York? Who you got? If you were a betting person, and some of you probably are, we can't bet in Texas. We don't have betting yet in Texas, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say New York is going to do it. They're going to win their first championship. But then again, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and pick someone. I'm going to say New York is going to get it. What do you think? We'll see you in the next one.
That's all for now. Before you bounce, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and check out the merch.